Hi, how are you? Oh, no.
Trying to take one thing at a time.
Oh, thank you so much.
I got the dorkiest clothes ever and I haven't shaved. But I'm down, always down.
We know you are. You love the Capital Fund.
Might have to pull up something.
Somebody, oh, thank you. My fault. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening.
So I know Commissioner Wicks will be here this evening.
Oh, okay.
I have not heard of Commissioner Bellamy,
And then Payne.
and Payne did not say whether or not he was here or not.
Okay. Can we, is a quorum 3 at this point?
I think you have to have,
We need one more.
I think you need to have one more.
Okay.
I think you have to have a majority.
Okay, so we can't vote on anything,
Can't vote on anything.
but could we start and then see
Yeah.
if someone,
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
Okay, do you want me to, I'm happy to, do you know Robert's Rules of Order better than I do?
I think we could just say, if Earl and I want to appoint you as the chair, I think that.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
remember exactly.
The handy dandy rules.
Oh,
Or that's okay. There's a section about the board in here.
oh, look at that.
160 something, that's the one I looked at.
What page is it?
160 something. I was looking at that during lunch.
Okay.
We did actually include it as a process. Yes, and you are right, it is a page 1.
Can't remember a friend's birthdays, but I remember that. Well, maybe it isn't. It's towards that end.
Yeah, it is towards the end. Starts on page 108, board meetings and work sessions.
Okay. Okay.
But that is. Here it is. Go to page 112.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. All right.
Board meeting execution.
Cool. All right. Here we go. All right. I am going to call this regular meeting of the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority Board of Commissioners to order. Can we get a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Wicks. Commissioner Dallas.
Here.
Commissioner Bowman.
Here.
Commissioner Hicks.
Here.
Commissioner Bellamy. Commissioner Payne. You do not have a quorum.
Oh.
Well, Commissioner Payne is online, I'm sorry.
Oh, does that count?
It does, because you do have the ability to join remotely, so yes. it
Okay.
does.
Okay, so we
you
have
have a quorum.
a quorum. Great.
Can you say that you're here, Commissioner Payne?
Here.
Commissioner Payne, can you say present? Is there a way to message him?
I'm sorry.
I can't, but can CEVO Communications message Commissioner He messaged something in the chat.
Oh, okay. I can hear you. Okay. I'm present. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a quorum. All right, so next we'll have a moment of silence. Okay, so for our general announcements, we have our next board work session on Thursday, April 10th at 6 p.m. and our regular board meeting is going to be Monday, April 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. The Redevelopment Committee meets every first Thursday of the month, so the next one will be April 3rd, 2005 at 3 p.m., and that should run to about 4 p.m. There's a Zoom meeting information on our board minutes, and those will continue. The admin redevelopment meeting is every third Thursday of the month, so the next meeting will be April 17th at 1 p.m. Do we have a location for that? Where does the admin committee meet?
The admin committee, they meet is virtual.
Okay, so we don't have a link in here, but if anyone's interested in attending, we could have that link sent out. The safety committee meets every second Wednesday of the month, and the next meeting will be April 9th at noon. That's also virtual, and I will coordinate with Commissioner Wicks about making sure that we've got some coverage for that. And finally, the resident services committee meets every second Tuesday of the month. The next meeting will be April 8th at 1 p.m. Is that another virtual meeting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so anyone who wants to attend, please get in touch with CRHA staff to have the Zoom link for that one. Okay, so with that, any other general announcements? Oh, good, someone else can take over. Any other general announcements from commissioners? Okay.
I have, we do have one request to add an additional meeting next Monday.
Okay.
To pass the CRHA budget.
For us, including okay, so an additional meeting next Monday, 6 p.m.
Yes, it will be at 6 p.m.
Will it be here?
Yes, it will. Should be fairly quick. I will not be present. I will be at a Housing Authority conference, but I will be online.
Okay. Okay, so for all who are listening, including the commissioners who are here, we have an additional meeting next Monday at 6 p.m. on the docket so that we can pass the budget, what's the deadline for that? Is it the end of April?
It's Monday.
Okay, so we got to get this done. Okay,
Deadline is Monday. We're going to pass it on Monday.
okay,
We typically passed it today, but we had some clarifications with some HUD funding
okay.
that we need to get, and so we're working on that.
Okay, so we all have to make sure that we're there to pass this since we need a quorum. Okay, so any other general announcements, meeting dates, or reminders from any of the other commissioners? Okay, so with that, I'm going to call for public comments, and then I'm going to turn it over to Chair Bellamy after that. So public comments?
Okay.
If not, do we have someone, a representative for, Ms. Wilcox, do you need public comment? Okay.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I'm Annette Wilcox. I'm at 1400 Monticello Road at apartment 102 in Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm gonna try to agree to go to, if I have any concerns about roses, not being a new rose, yes, clothing stores, and I'm gonna try to go to the Paris Road Shopping Center. And I wish I had known why, and I like the Reed's Market, it was very nice. They had, if I should have any concerns, I'll bring it up to Brian Haluska.
Wonderful, thank you.
Or whoever is the current real.
Thank you.
Ouch.
Do we have a representative here to give FAR comments?
I think so. I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
unless someone's online.
Oh,
Is there anyone online to give FAR comments? Okay, so if not, we're at updates from commissioners and discussion. So any updates from commissioners?
I don't have any.
So I have something actually I'd be interested to hear, Chair Bellamy, what you think at R2221, which I guess is now just a 221. Anyway,
Right now, there's just 222.
222, okay. So we were talking a little bit about the authoritarian moment that we find ourselves in and things that we could be doing. And so two things came up. One is the governor's race and thinking about the various people who are running in the primary and considering having some of the affordable housing, the nonprofit affordable housing providers send a memo to the different campaigns about how they would like housing to be integrated into a platform. As a way to try to get that to be a cornerstone. So I don't know if that's something that we would leave to CRHA staff to draft, if that's something we want to take the lead on, but something to get it on their radar that housing is something, I mean, they might already be thinking about it, but there might be certain things that we want them to consider to make sure they're thinking about in their platforms and to deliver on those campaign promises for whoever gets elected. I don't know if we have thoughts.
I think that's a great idea. I think what may be most beneficial is for us to create a memo of sorts. And then to your point, send that memo to each of the candidates. We would have to be sure that we have the contact information for each and every one. And then within that memo, kind of state our position, maybe also inform them of the work in which we're doing. I think that's a very proactive step. I would also beg the question if we're going to send a memo to the gubernatorial candidates, if we also want to send a similar memo to the lieutenant governor candidates.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Probably want to do on both sides of the spectrum are all the candidates who are running. We're not hosting a forum or anything, but I do think that memo would be most beneficial. I'm fine with taking a stab at it in conjunction with you, Dr. Goldblatt, or staff, whomever feels would be best, or I don't have to as well. I could do whatever is necessary or review and revise, but that's kind of my perspective.
Yeah, I'm happy to take a stab at drafting a memo. It would be helpful if we could get some help from staff about specific policy points and funding areas. I'm seeing some of you nod about things to be looking out for. I think that would be helpful. And it might also be worth just reaching out to Habitat and PHA to see if there's to make this as robust as possible. But I'm happy to work with you on that.
Okay.
If we could get some input from staff about what you feel we really need, what would be the most protective and beneficial to secure. I can send a memo out to an email out to a few people just to get that rolling. The other thing that we talked about is if there's any Republican members of the Virginia State House who might be willing to push for any affordable housing protections. I sent a note to Sally Hudson to see if there's anyone she'd been working on. I haven't heard back yet, but I don't know, Commissioner Bellany, you have a lot of contacts in the state and federal government. I don't know if if there's anyone that you might say, this is someone at least you can work on, but I think it's something for us to be thinking about, especially we can reach out to Katrina Coulson and others about, who can you work with on this?
I think at a bare minimum, we're going to have to ask Delegate Coulson and Senator Deeds, just because they're our representatives.
Mm-hmm.
That would be best. And then I think after that, you and I could talk offline about other potential advocates, but it would behoove us to start with those two.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything else.
I think you're doing a great job of running the meeting, Dr. Goldblatt. Please continue.
All right, so if no other updates or discussion, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the board minutes from February 24th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
I'll second the motion.
Can we get a roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Goldblatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Hicks,
Here.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Bellamy.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Oh, Commissioner Payne, I'm sorry. Yeah, Commissioner Payne was on.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, yes.
Great, okay, the motion passes. And then the next item is the SOP discussion. Are we going to have a presentation about that?
So I don't have a formal presentation to provide you guys. The SOPs are in the doc, we provided them inside of the board package. We're gonna have them online. It was a long time to get to this process, but it's still not formal. We did receive it a little late, and so my staff still needs to go through and make some final comments and changes potentially. But I wanted to get you all the document because it is really close to being formal, the final product. And so internally, we're going to finish completing our review of the document, make any, incorporate any changes. And so we have the firm with us until the end of the month to make those changes. Within the first 180 days, we're going to do a complete review of the process based upon what the staff is actually doing to make sure that it actually does flow and that we don't need to make any small changes. And then after a year of having the SOP in place, we're going to do one full complete review again, while also capturing any additions because we've already saw that, hey, we didn't have this process in place. So like recently we've opened up some computer labs and then like setting up printers for residents to be able to print from those computer labs. SOPs have been developed from that, and so we're going to continue developing those, and then at the end of that year process, include those in the final document and make a final review of those. And so this will be a yearly document that gets updated and reviewed by the departments to make sure it actually flows with what's actually happening in the field. So it will be a living document. We have one staff member that's responsible for editing those changes, making those changes, and keeping the document live for everyone else. I don't have anything else, but once we do have it finalized at the end of this month, with any changes that we do ask them to make, we will bring that back and post it online as the final. But what you see right now, we went through, we have not identified any changes, but staff is constantly doing things. We are tackling new challenges, and so we're creating new additions. So we have a new IT department, and every function they have, they're creating an SOP based on that function.
I wonder one of the things we as the board could do is go really carefully through that board section, which because I was afraid I wouldn't know Robert's Rules of Order, I have been helpfully pointed out by Commissioner O'Dell and Mr. Sales that it begins on page 108. We might want to review that prior to the work session in case we notice anything that needs to be changed or added.
I think that's a good idea, Dr. Goldblatt.
And the rules that they followed Robert's rules. So even if they looked at they reviewed our meetings, but even if our meetings went a little side of Robert's rule, they stuck to what was the official process.
I mean, by and large, I would say that we follow.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is just more so for documentation
Correct.
Purposes.
This should be a training document as new staff come on, new commissioners come on.
That's good.
Document and be able to follow along. Okay, well, how should the meeting flow? What is the flow chart that shows exactly how the meeting flows?
Right, and I mean, we can have, at our next discussion, we can go over in further detail one of the questions that, or one thing that I was gonna bring up, if you all look on page 112, section 2.2, the FAR public comments, just ensuring that that's baked in as our agenda as it currently is. But if we were going to continue with that, just ensuring that there's a FAR representative at all of the meetings, and or if they're sending their reports in ahead of time so that we have time to review them. If they're going to be a standing individual or a standing section on all of our board meetings, that was kind of one thing that came to mind when I saw it the other day when I was looking at this yesterday. But we can discuss it further at the work session, excuse me.
Yeah, this is great. I agree. I'd like to say, especially if it says, I know we talked about it for staff as a training document, but it might be helpful too for people to think about what do you wish you had been told before you became a board member and making sure it's in here.
Yeah, yes, excuse me. I agree.
Any other discussion of the SOP or comments, clarifications?
Oh, man.
Okay. Okay, so next we have the CFP, the 5-year annual plan. It's Resolution 1485, which is Attachment C. I can read it. So the resolution, and I don't need to read all the whereases, but it authorizes submission of the 2025 to 2029 5-year capital fund action plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Is there a presentation about that?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Brandon Collins. I'm your redevelopment coordinator, and I get the super cool thing of working with our residents on the capital fund that we do every year. In your packet, I believe you have the submission that'll go to HUD, as well as some handy-dandy charts that explain the plan a lot more easily than reading through the HUD document. We already did a work session on this, so I'll be super brief. But the capital fund is a grant from HUD that we're eligible for every year. One of the things that we have to do to be eligible for it is have a 5-year plan. Now, we don't know how much money is going to come each year, and we base it on previous years. But it allows us to plan ahead. So the plan you're looking at takes us to 2029. The money comes in annual chunks. At some point in this summer, everybody will be calling you because Senators Warner and Kane will be on TV saying, "We got all this money for public housing in Charlottesville, aren't we awesome?" And that's the capital plan. It happens every year. They like to take credit for it, but it comes from them. They make a big announcement, and that's what that will be. What's super exciting is back in 2022, with Mr. Sales and residents, we set a really smart plan. In the past, the need had been so great. There was money from everywhere, going back 4 years in various chunks. And Mr. Sales worked with residents to put together a plan. And I got to say, since that time, we've really been able to get on track and basically stick to the plan that we that we crafted. It took a while to catch up on all past years. At this point, all past years, the capital funds are pretty much caught up. So we're really looking at 2024 and forward. That plan was mainly focused on getting exterior work done on the parallel track sites, and then moving towards HVAC, upgrade central air, a historic first for public housing in Charlottesville. And now we're looking at interior renovations. So we're pretty excited to stay kind of on this trajectory. Last year, we really moved things around to make the HVAC projects come together. Took a couple years of funding, took city funding to get it there. What happened was back in December, we got notice that there was an extra grant that we had applied for that gave us $1.5 million extra for year 2024. That was a super awesome thing because it really did get us back on track for interior renovations to be the next big project that we do. So we're finishing up HVAC with 2024 money. We're doing, we finished entry doors and security doors, and we were starting to plan for renovations of bathrooms at the parallel track. With this money, we now have money that covers all of the interior, which is going to allow us to fully renovate the interiors at Mickey Drive, Madison Avenue, and Riverside Avenue, and some renovations for the single-family homes. Remember, this is all public housing. So that was exciting. That's not going to be in the plan you look at, but that was the major consideration we had to take into factor to craft the 5-year plan. And so getting that news kind of really set the stage for how we needed to set the CFP. Fortunately, we work with residents throughout the year frequently, so we already kind of knew where the priorities were. We did do some polling, and we met with residents on the other sites that aren't really receiving a whole lot of the capital fund, but who are public housing residents, and we want to include them and inform them on the process. So, what's in the plan? Let me pull it up here real quick. It's in your packet. hopefully all that made sense. So over 5 years, we're planning for about 6.36 million over the 5-year stretch. Now that's without including 2024, and we'll look at that in one of your final charts that I have. If we look at kind of year by year, or section by section, so we do get a piece called authority-wide. Most of the plans set up by AMPs, basically the sites. But we do get authority-wide money for which we take 10% for administration. But we're also allowed to use it to benefit the rest of the housing authority as a whole. So we have money in there to support career training opportunities for public housing residents. That's going to supplement our other career readiness and self-sufficiency measures that Housing Authority has underway through resident services. We've got, sorry, the screen is really little. We've got, over the 5 years, we've got about 120,000 to support staff training. That training is supposed to specifically relate to any dings that we get through the Inspire process or the REACT process. So then site by site, when we look at West Haven, West Haven, as you know, is going to be undergoing redevelopment. Residents just came up with a master plan last week, or came to consensus on a plan. Doesn't mean we're building it right this second, so they do have capital needs that are going to need to be covered. We think the best way to do this is to transfer as much as we can that's allowed for that into operations for West Haven, and that's to meet needs. You had a question?
Yes, sir. Sorry, do we know how much that will be?
Yes, it is. For 2025, we're looking at 240,000, and then the next 5 years, it's about 250,000 per year.
So Right.
Somebody needs a new roof, sidewalk repairs. I think we are still planning to do some more lighting.
And the goal is, or the plan rather, is to remove monies from operational funds to cover. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Other way around. So from the capital fund, we'll move that into operations.
Move the capital fund to the operation.
Specifically
Okay,
for West Haven. So HUD requires you to outline the AMP and the project that you're going to do.
Right.
When you do it this way, it gives you some flexibility. We know we don't need to replace all 126 roofs over there, but we might need to replace one or two. That gives us the flexibility to meet those needs.
Got it. Thank you.
Until we get over the hump into redevelopment.
Okay.
Similarly, you've got Crescent Halls has already undergone redevelopment. Only half of it is public housing. It's got its own funding stream. It's got its own operating costs to meet any needs there. So we are not including any capital needs for Crescent Halls, nor are we for previously AMP3. I think now it's maybe starting to get broken up into different AMP numbers. South First Street and 6th Street. South First Street, as you know, is undergoing redevelopment, and 6th Street will be breaking ground on the first phase of its redevelopment. Now, there are 19 remaining homes at 6th Street. We feel like their needs, their physical needs on that site can be met just through operations, and we don't need to make any transfer. What that leaves us with is a lot of the capital fund to focus on what we call the parallel track. And this has been the strategy going back to 2022, where we focus as much money on those sites to do life-changing improvements on those sites. So I believe over the 5 years we're looking at about $4 million. And then if you go to the chart, it's kind of a blue chart. It says general picture of parallel track 2024 to 2029 with the added 2024 grant funding. What you see in there is for 2024, which is already sent and kind of locked in with HUD, you see 2.37 million to cover the entry doors and security doors. That project's complete, so that money is basically spent. The rest is HVAC replacement. That's the last chunk of money for the HVAC, and that's mostly designated for Madison Avenue. We think we'll realize some savings on that once that project's complete. And that project, they just signed the paperwork on the electric upgrades for that project. And then you can see the rest is all just going in the pile for interior renovation, bathroom modernization, kitchen modernization, interior painting, interior doors, and you can also see flooring. And you can also see there's $175,000 in there for relocation. So the strategy was our original strategy before there were cost increases and such, which is each family will be relocated to a hotel for up to a week. And while they're out, we go in and we just knock it all out. New bathroom, new kitchen, new floors, new paint, as much of the interior. So and they come back in, put all their stuff back in, they've got a brand new apartment almost. We've already done some of the selection work for that. A lot of that work's going to be done by force account labor, which is your CRHA staff, which saves us on fees with contracting. Not all the work, some work's going to need to be contracted out. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to take some time because we're kind of going unit by unit or maybe building by building. But we do want to get it planned out and done really fast.
What's your projected timeline for that?
Oh boy, Mr. Sales?
Yes. So,
Projected, I mean, obviously, it's not, we know we don't have exact dates.
yeah, so
But-
what we have budgeted is to start this work in 6 months.
6 months from today?
6 months from April 1.
Okay.
And so that's what we have budgeted. We still have a lot of decisions that need to be made by residents along, I think they've made decisions in the bathrooms. I think the kitchens are close, but we still have a little ways to go on that. So once those decision points have been made, we'll be able to move forward pretty quickly. We already purchased some Conex boxes that we've used to store material. So we installed our own doors. We've installed our own appliances, of course. And so we bought some additional storage to have some material. And so we have a team of 4 that are carpenters. That's all they do.
Oh,
Carpentry
okay.
work. And so that team of 4 has been doing all of our special projects. And so we have almost a contracting company that works under CRHA that is only going to be doing this for the next year and a
I
half.
thought you meant we have a team of 4 who's gonna do all the work. I'm like that.
No.
Yeah, that ain't gonna cut it.
The maintenance department is now the team of 25.
There we go.
Okay.
It's huge.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. And yeah, I'm glad Mr. Sales mentioned, we already did the appliances for kitchens, so that is really good news. So we're really excited. Like you said, we're working through it with residents. Residents are very excited about this. And then when you look out for the 5-year plan, the basic idea is interior renovations. And then once we're done with that, or sort of maybe some overlapping towards the end of that effort, moving kind of back out to exteriors where we'll be looking at awnings or canopies, backyard fences, playground fences, kind of making a return to some exterior work for some priorities that residents had outlined for us. And then when you look way out, we've got still on the table, still in mind, a really big project which is bringing half bathrooms to the downstairs in some apartments for the parallel track. That's going to require a whole lot of effort, and it's going to require replacing hot water heaters. So looking at interior, back to exterior, and then half bath is kind of the 5-year plan for the parallel track.
Okay, so we are thinking that the exterior renovations and potentially this half bath is all going to happen in the next 5 years?
The half bath is at the tail end of
Okay.
this 5-year plan.
But we would
That's gonna-
imagine, but we feel good about like exterior renovations but in the
I
next 5
think
years?
so, and anytime we can realize savings, and as long as things are in the proper categories inside the capital plan, we can move faster. So anytime we get extra money, anytime we can save some money, and certainly if you're the first to get interior renovation, we don't want to wait too long before beginning the next bit of work, assuming that we have money that we can draw down.
Yeah, and Brent, let me speak on the force account really quick. One of the reasons why we pushed at that so hard is when we looked at or analyzed our HVAC number a little bit more, that we signed a contract for a year ago now. We spent $2 million to do Mickey and Riverside, to do HVAC and electric there. Once we got enough staff on the development team, we were to quote out those projects, and the electric quoted out for under 100,000, and the HVAC quoted out for under 100,000. So we lost a lot of money that could have went to other projects, but we were under a time crunch. It was picked up by one big contractor that had a state contract, but we are realizing big savings by doing a lot of this work in-house. We saved a couple $100,000 on the doors. We're going to save almost $200,000 or $300,000 on HVAC. Those will then pick up projects that we had pushed off years down the road,
Right.
because it's unseen savings.
So the money come back, and they will be able to apply to other items.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's coming back. We're just spending a lot less on them than what contractors are typically charging. So we're saving a lot.
That's
Big
exciting.
savings.
Thank you.
So that's the capital plan. I think it's super smart. We're all really proud of the work that we do. Residents are really jazzed about it. I feel confident that residents understand what the plan is. So there you go. I hope you pass it.
Does anyone have any additional questions other than the ones that were asked during the presentation?
No.
You're welcome. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, so if no further questions, then do I have a motion to approve Resolution 1485, the CFP 5-year annual plan?
So move. Oh. No, go ahead, because I don't think the chair can move it. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Hicks.
Ms. Wright,
Motion.
do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Hicks,
Here.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Redelis.
Yes.
Commissioner Bellamy.
Yes.
Commissioner Payne?
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Commissioner Payne.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, the next item we have on the agenda, it's attachment D, is the leave policy resolution. It's Resolution 1486, and it's to authorize and adopt an unlimited leave policy. So I don't know if there's any additional context to our presentation there.
Yes, I'll speak on this one. And so this is a topic that we picked up, I guess it's probably about 6 or 8 months ago, that I think Commissioner Rodales, you had a question about the impact on VRS. The question was answered, but it fell between the cracks and the months in between. And so we were doing some cleanup and saw that this policy needed to be approved. And so it's amending our current, it's amending the current PTO policy to make it an unlimited policy. So it is reducing our liability at the end of the day. And so each year we're carrying over accrued leave, and that's in case someone leaves, that we have to pay out those funds. This will totally eliminate that from happening on a year-to-year basis. And makes us a more nimble agency, in my opinion. Plus, it allows staff to have more flexibility when it comes to leave. Instead of waiting to accrue to leave, you come in with some leave that you can take.
No leave approved for Mr. Sales.
Oh, I don't think you have to worry about that because I'm taking any.
Can I just ask?
My staff can tell you that.
So in terms of leave, is this, I'm wondering if like family leave or disability, are those different kinds of leave, or is this
Yes.
all covered?
No,
Okay.
they're different. So we are now large enough for FMLA, and so now employees are eligible for that. But at one point, when I first got here, we were not large enough, but that is no longer the case.
Okay.
So that is separate, and that's federal.
Okay.
You can see from the process that it's been iterative. So it's kind of evident from the work you've shown me that you guys have carefully considered this and then revised it between comments and then input you had sales.
Yeah, we have a HR handbook committee that's made up of 6 staff members, 1 staff member from each department that meets, and they look at policies that need to be amended. They look at whether we have parties, look at everything. And so they had this policy for a good little while before we actually got it and sent it out to the board. So my staff has blessed it.
I'd like to call a question, Madam
Commissioner?
Commissioner running the meeting.
Please, yeah.
No, you go.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any other questions or comments about the leave policy? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve the Resolution 1486.
second,
Commissioner Hicks,
here,
Commissioner Goldblatt.
Yep.
Commissioner Redelis,
Yes.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Yes.
Commissioner Payne,
Yes.
Great, motion
And-
passes.
And just for the record, I'm officially signing this policy now, and I'll pass it over to Ms. Carey so that she can have it expedited and adopted.
Thank you. Okay, and so the next item is our housing director update, attachment E.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few things that we wanted to bring to your attention. We are having the safety meetings monthly. We still have a couple of, a concern regarding getting the chief out to a meeting periodically. It's something that the residents have requested. So myself and Mr. Sales are working on that diligently, hoping to get the chief out to a meeting at least a couple times a year. Also, we were asked about hiring someone to watch the cameras full time, which obviously is not possible. But we do monitor the cameras. Staff has a view of the cameras in their offices, where they can go live and monitor the properties. So we are doing that, and we just want to reassure everyone. We'll talk more about this at the next safety meeting. Also, we will be at the County City Housing Expo with our partners from Resident Services and HCV on April 12th from 10 to 3, representing CRHA and just affordable housing in general. We have a new tow company starting effective 4/1 that we've vetted and met with multiple times. Every resident has been notified. We had a meeting today, and we will also do another presentation on it at our next safety meeting to give more residents and partners another opportunity to join us and introduce the new tow company. We'll be starting our beautification days. They will go from April through July. We will be picking 2 sites a month. It will be staff, residents, hopefully maybe some of the board members can come out and join us to help beautify some of the sites as we go through the summer and it's a little bit warmer and we can get people out. The schedule and the sign up is forthcoming. I hope to get that out this week. And lastly, just a small follow-up on, we have jump-started our eviction diversion program collaboratively with Resident Services. So next month's report will have some metrics on that program and how it's going. But I just wanted to mention that if you look on page 1, and you go down to just the bottom there, right under where it says as of March 13th, you can kind of see the status of like who's in unlawful detainer status, which is just a first appearance, who requested and is pending a trial, and how many families are pending an actual writ of eviction. And then to the point of the eviction diversion program, we'll be able to provide more metrics on how we're using that, how many families are using it. So in the coming months, we'll have a little bit more information for you on that. And I think that was everything that we have.
Thank you. Ms. Banks, is it possible when you get the dates, if you could send them to Ms. Carey could send them to the the board in terms of the beautification projects and whatnot?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to be doing a flyer, and it's going to have a scan code. I will make sure that she gets that so that she can disseminate it to as many people as possible.
In terms of the eviction diversion data, if there's a way just to say, because like right now, so we've got 16 people who have gotten that first notice because of rent, 3 for non-rent, 15 people pending trial. If we could just have some numbers about like what the outcomes are for those numbers, that would be great. So like of this 16, how many of them were able to be resolved? Of the 15 who are pending trial, what are the outcomes? And like if we could, it would be great if we could have that level of detail to see how the program's working.
Yes, we'll definitely have more information next month. We actually just kicked off the program, so it's going to take a couple months to get good metrics. But yes, you will start seeing that in the upcoming months. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any further questions for the housing director?
No.
Okay, then if we could have a finance update, please.
Happy spring.
Happy spring.
Happy spring.
Happy spring.
So thank you all for your patience on giving us an extra week of the budget. As you can imagine, it's been a little more difficult this year. So we're really spending a whole lot of time on nailing everything down possible. Other than that, the South First Street tax credit property had its audit completed. I received that at like 4 o'clock today. I can give you a finalized copy. So everything clean and good. They're still waiting on the Crescent Halls audit to come back. That should be any day now. Other than that, we'll have a lot of information about the budget next week. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Cool.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
No, ma'am.
All right. And so finally, before returning to public comments, we've got the executive director's update.
And I'm going to be as short as TC's was. I did want to, the budget is going to be next week. It's taken a lot of work to try to get us to an acceptable budget when it comes to bottom line in public housing. The tax credit properties, I think we figured it out in like 2 days. The public housing properties were a struggle. We had a meeting with HUD a few weeks ago. Comment that they asked was, when did we plan to increase the public housing rents to $50? We're currently at 35.
35,
and so
right.
I have not had that conversation with anyone yet, but I've been thinking over a 5-year process how to get from 35 to 50.
Did they give us a deadline in terms of when we need to do so?
They didn't give us a deadline, but the question was asked, when are you going to increase? Because we haven't had an increase for a little while.
Right.
But one of the big things that we called out, ARs, account receivables, are going to be really important as we continue moving forward, addressing those, because cash flow could potentially be a problem in public housing if we are not mindful of that. We've had a lot of influx of money the last few years in public housing. That will not continue to be the case. Each program, each development saw significant decreases in funding. Each development was able to make that up except AMP4, which we're figuring that one out. That's the Mickey, Madison, and Riverside, the very small portfolio. And so we need to all be mindful of that. I've had conversations of what does that look like. If we all support public housing staying, how does that look like for the city? What type of commitment does that look like? If the city says, hey, we want to ensure public housing stays around, how do we do that? because we are making the investments to make sure that it is physically here. We've made $5 million within the last 2-3 years of investments, exterior and now interior. And we have plans to continue making those investments over the next couple of years to the tune of about an additional $3 million. And so now we need to know, how do we continue to perform operational? Because I can tell you with the budget, there's one maintenance person and one admin person, and it still does not financially pencil out. The utility cost is really high. I think our average rents in AMP4 is a little bit over $400. The utility bills are a little bit over $260, $270 a month. And so that's before you have operational costs. And that's if the residents are paying the rent. And that's a big if, because we know that is not happening in a lot of cases. And so we have to take a stand if we want to continue to have public housing and make it financially stable.
Can I just ask about the numbers you gave? Is that per unit? We're looking at like...
Yes, that's per unit. On average, we are getting $400. And so it's like $413, $417. And of that, of the 62 units, 12 families paid under $100 a month in rent.
Right. I think in some regard, this is a conversation we're going to have with council when we have our joint session.
Yeah.
My advice would be, when in your next conversations with HUD, kind of knowing HUD like I think I know him, as you all know him, while that may have been asked during your last meeting, that isn't necessarily going to be asked during the next meeting, because things kind of flow with the wind up there right now. So I think in some regard, we need to table the conversation about when the rents will increase from 35 to 50 until we can have that conversation with council. But we need to be deliberate with our plan in our conversation with council about the need for additional support. And that that's probably a request that we will need to bank into a budgetary request for 26-27 budget. Council needs to be made well aware of the financial strains from a specific perspective that HUD is bringing forth, and then there needs to be some short gap coverage in some regard.
Are there any additional questions for Mr. Sales?
No. Thank you, sir.
Okay. With that, we are back to public comments. So I'll open the floor for public comments.
2 new guests? No?
Yeah, please.
Comments?
My name is Christina Howard.
Good evening.
10th Page Neighborhood Association. And one of our residents in our neighbor area rents from Mr. Seal, and she brought me some pictures of what her apartment looks like. And I don't know how they would even put her in something like this. I have this hole in the ceiling, the toilet stool is leaning, there's mold all under the sink. I have all the pictures right here to show you. And I know people need a place to live, but that's not decent enough. I mean, it could be fixed. And I'm sure you might be aware of the place I'm talking about.
Are you familiar?
So I think I am, because I got an email about it.
I talked to the mayor
but
about it.
The email that we received, we're addressing those concerns based upon that.
I mean, how could you even put someone, a family? I know people need somewhere to live, but big hole in the ceiling, mold. I have the pictures right here. She took pictures so I could bring them down here. Do you want to see them?
I would love to see the pictures after the meeting.
Okay. Do you all want to see them?
Yeah, sure. Could you email them to?
Oh.
Well, I don't know if we want to pass your phone around.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, you just go stroll and see it. That's the hole on top of where the kitchen is.
Thank you, Ms. Howard.
What's our process for inspections before we move people in?
So, properties are inspected by, both the, property managers walking the unit and the, tenant themselves walk the unit. I do know I do know the property. These
And I'm
are,
aware she's behind on her rent also.
No, don't say
I'm
that.
not-
No,
I'm
no,
not-
no.
But you still don't put a person in living quarters like that.
I'm not going to have certain conversations.
Okay.
Okay. This is a public meeting.
To the mic. To the mic.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can I ask, so the tenant and then the property managers, they walk through together? What happens if the tenant sees things like this and says, like, I'm not moving, like, what happened? How does that work?
So if a tenant sees something, we would address it. We have purchased properties, and sometimes there's tenants already in place. And that's all I'm going to say on that piece. When we have a tenant that moves in, we ensure that the unit is livable. We get inspections, and we complete inspections. We have not moved anybody into a home that is not habitable.
So you haven't inspected this one yet? Is that what you're
We
saying?
have, anytime we move someone into one of our units, we inspect it, and it is habitable.
I don't know
So
who
ma-
inspected this one then.
I don't think that's what he's saying. Let's,
I know what he's
Do-
saying, but
do-
she probably needs somewhere to live, and that was her only choice to take.
I would, like
But
to
how long
propose-
do you have to live like that before they fix it?
I
That's
like
my
to-
question.
Ms. Howard, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I would like, if we can, well, one is make sure we get our phone back. If we can we take this portion of the conversation offline? Or discuss after meeting, to the extent in which we can. I know it's a resident in, to the extent in which we can discuss it, can we discuss it offline?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that mean, do we need to add a close, like, what does that look like?
No. I mean,
Okay.
a conversation amongst the parties after this meeting,
Okay.
after we conclude
It
this
would be
meeting.
great if we could get maybe an update about this at the work session, so there's some resolution, so this isn't just hanging over.
Agreed. Okay.
So it would
So,
be
Ms.
look-
Howard, can you stay for a second after the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else? Okay.
Okay, if there's no more public comments, can someone move to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Good job, Doc. In your meeting. Good job.
Thanks.
See you later.
You good?
Yeah.
I know you are. Budget season.
Yes.
You got the show learned?
No, we're like right in the middle of it. We got the same.
So the extra mics, the extra be, the extra mic
Thank you.
to do the job. No problem. So no longer-
The budget is next Monday at 6. We'll have to come back to vote on it, because I